Hello and welcome to Hot Money Technicals on Bloomberg Quint Live, India's first digital live streaming business news service. This is a show which gets you a complete wrap of all the stocks that are buzzing in trade. I'm Darshan Mehta. Let's welcome our guest on the show. Joining us today are technical analyst and mentor in SVI, Dyaneshwar Padwal of KIFS Securities and Amit Shah of India Bulls Ventures join me on the show. Many thanks to all of my guests for joining me. Before we begin on the show with our analyst, let's bring in Yash Upadhyay, who has a chart on Sun TV. Sun TV, remember, came out with very poor set of numbers. The stock is down almost 11%. But good afternoon, Yash. Is there more downside that the charts indicate on Sun TV?
Absolutely, Darshan, because the indicator that we are using over here is the proprietary fear and greed indicator by the Bloomberg, and that is indicating a further downside for the stock. Like you rightly mentioned, the company came out with absolutely weak set of numbers, and on the back of that, it is being punished almost 11-12% in today's day of trade. But it should continue to remain under pressure, is what the fear and greed indicator is suggesting, because as you could see in the lower panel, the fear and greed indicator that has flipped its color from green to red. Now, we've seen the stock be in a consistent downtrend, going from the levels of upwards of almost 1,000 rupees now down to almost 469. So it has almost more than halved in just the last 1 year period. And the yellow line over here that you're seeing, that is the 200-day exponential moving average. That is where it came for the first time in nearly a year, and then we saw this big crack happening. There was a lot of whipsaws on either side, but it did not manage to sustain the closing above that mark, and then we saw this big fall come in today's day of trade. The fear and greed indicator, that suggests further weakness for the counter. The volumes too are also significantly higher on the daily charts, so watch out for Sun TV. It could see further lower levels on the time frame.
Okay, thanks so much for that, Yash. Does it look weak on the chart?
It's absolutely weak. I would say avoid, and if you have it, try to exit as much as possible. If it, you can rebuy this stock around 360, 370 area. I believe that could be the good support on monthly chart.
So you see another 100 rupee downside on this?
Probably, yeah.
Okay, what's your sense, Dyaneshwar?
Well, Darshan, if you look at the current chart structure, so on a lower time frame charts, it's already given a pullback of 400 towards the 540, and recently we have seen the bear rally. But first line of defense for the bears is placed near about 449. If bears manage to take out the 449 level, then only I would go short on this counter.
Okay, Amit, what's your sense?
Yeah, I mean, the overall trend continues to remain weak. In fact, at our place, we had suggested a short just 2-3 days back on this one. I think the weakness still continues. Probably it should again retest the levels of 400. 500 would be a tough task on the upside now to breach, but overall the downtrend continues.
Okay, that's the view that's coming in on Sun TV. I think it's a sell call that's coming in on the counter. But let's begin with the first round of chart with our analyst. SVI has the chart on BEML. BEML came out with weak set of numbers earlier. Of late has been rather weak. It's corrected all the way from 1100 to 960. But are you looking, what's your sense on this counter? What should one do?
Basically, I've used two basic trend lines which are acting as supports. One is, we have connected the bottoms, and currently it is just trading exactly around the bottoms. And if you look at from the tops, we have connected previous major resistances, and again that area is acting as a support area. So there is a confluence of two moving averages here, and it's a great pullback. The whole move was very strong, and logically there was some downside that was expected after such a huge move. So the stock is consolidating here. It's not falling as sharply, rather it is you would say more of an accumulation kind of pattern here which is happening. So one can buy this around up to 955 and keep a stop loss at 948.
Okay.
On the upside, I believe the stock has potential to go back to 1100 rupees.
Okay, so will this be a positional slow mover, or you see, because traditionally we've seen moves to be very fast on the higher side?
Usually the moves are very sharp. So let's say if it just crosses around 990, you can expect a strong move and a minor resistance at 1020, the intermediate top here. The moment this crosses this two, 990 and 1020, the stock becomes unstoppable.
Okay,
usually.
thanks so much for that, NS. Amit, what's your sense on BML? Would you be a buyer?
Yeah, sure. Definitely, it's a stock in strong momentum. It has cleared the phase of consolidation. Right now, it's just, I think, correcting the up move that it has seen, but there's no threat to the trend right now. I would look to buy, here, even on dips towards 930, keep a stop below 870. the first target I would look for is 1100, and eventually I think it's headed for 1240 kind of levels on the upside.
Okay, what's your sense, Dyaneshwar?
If you look at the lower time frame, so last 4.5 months stock was unfolded into corrective pattern and moving in a very tight range, and recent move suggested that the stock is poised for an northern trajectory with the 45-degree up move, and recently it has taken a support of intermediate trend line. So this would be a very great opportunity to buy because risk reward ratio is quite favorable. Keep a stop loss of 945 on a closing basis.
Okay, that's the view that's coming in. Positive view coming in on BML. That is the first stock. The next stock we want to talk about is pretty much the stock of Monday. Amara Raja came out with very strong set of numbers. Operationally was very strong. The guidance was maintained both on the four-wheeler side, on the replacement side, on the two-wheeler side, on the industrial side. So strong guidance given. The uptrend continues up almost 2%. Dyaneshwar, if you can have you, let's have the chart up. It was up almost 10% on Friday. A big move coming in. But do you see there could be more potential upside on Amara Raja?
Yeah, well, Darshan, if you look at the overall chart structure, so recently stock is unfolded into the corrective pattern and it is moving in and downward sloping channels. And if you look at the RSI, so recently RSI has given a breakout which eventually pushed the RSI towards the northern trajectory, and simultaneously if you look at the RSI, so we got the divergence over here where the stock is making new low, but where the stock is making new low, but RSI is not managed to make a new low. So this is an indication of a great reversal over here, and simultaneously we got the second confirmation on the intermediate trend line breakout, and recently we have seen that the stock is poised for a northern trajectory. So I would wait for an 850 level to take a test this overhead resistance. So that would be my target. Current market price and as well as the buy on dips towards the 714, 715 would be a great buying opportunity. Keep a stop loss of 650 for an initial leg of up move towards the 850.
850 would be a quick move, or would it be
No,
slow?
it will take more than a month because this is a weekly chart, so it will take time to move on.
And has the move on Monday, which was up 10%, was there volumes that accompanied the move that was with?
Yeah, of course. Monday's trading session volume is quite high as compared to the previous 2 weeks high.
Okay, thank you so much for that. So 730 is where Amara Raja battery should be bought in. Amit, what's your sense on Amara Raja? Are you bullish?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it has been showing some momentum in the near term. So my sense is once it clears the zone of 745, the upward momentum will continue, towards the zone of 790. So right now I'll just wait, because it is yet to, I mean, it's coming out of a base for itself, so the larger picture still looks a bit unclear, but in the near term, if once it crosses 745, it is headed for 790 on the upside.
Okay, and Enes, what's your sense?
Well, stock is facing a minor resistance around 740, 745. One should buy this on dips. I absolutely agree with Dyaneshwar, but it's a good buy on dips. You can buy around 705 and between 695. And if the stock is able to cross beyond 750, 755, then you can expect the price to go all the way up to 800, and like there is a minor resistance around that area. So it will consolidate over there. So overall, stock looks like a great pick if you buy on dips.
Okay, that's the view that's coming in on Amara Raja batteries. The next chart we want to talk about is on tin plate. That's Amit's pick. Let's pull up the chart. Tin plate also came out with numbers a while back, but it's consolidating significantly. Why should one buy company?
Yeah, so what we are seeing here is a long-term monthly chart, So the yellow line that we have drawn is the resistance zone, which had been, the stock was not able to cross that zone for last 7 years. The breakout happened somewhere in 2017, so that was the breakout zone. Now if you see, the stock is actually holding on to that zone very nicely. So this is the first, second, third, 3 months it has been holding, closing, not closing below this zone. So it is showing good evidence of strong support coming near the previous breakout zone. So this is a very, very strong setup, I would say. If you can switch on to the daily chart. On the daily time frame, if we see, it has made a nice head and shoulder here, and it has given a breakout here and that is also, this is of more significance because it is happening at a very crucial support zone even on the monthly charts. So it's a very strong setup, I would say. The volumes here are also quite strong. Last 3-4 sessions, if we see, the volumes have been exponentially higher. So strong momentum is building up on the downside. I mean on the upside, sorry.
Okay, and the ADX is also indicating.
Yes, yes. ADX is also rising, showing signs of strength coming back to the stock. Overall, the mid-cap trade, though not as wide, the breadth is not that wide, but mid-cap trades are coming back. So we do see mid-caps performing selectively.
What's the ideal strategy? It's at 136.
Even at this price, I'm quite optimistic on this stock, but one can utilize a dip maybe towards 125, 128 kind of a zone, a small dip towards that zone to accumulate. Even current market price one can accumulate. The first target that I have on this is 180, and I think it can go as high as 210. So there's a decent 30-40% kind of an upside for the stock.
What's the time frame?
The time frame could be, the first target could probably happen in a month's time. Overall, I think levels of 210 can be achieved between 1 to 3 months.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Amit. Positive view coming in. NS, what's your sense? Are you bullish on tin plate?
Yes, stock is in a very strong momentum, has made higher top, higher bottom, has reversed from almost a cup and handle, broken out from there. It needs to carry the crossover. There should be some follow-up on this. If that happens, like beyond 145, the stock has an opportunity to go up to 165, 170 in extreme short term. So one can look at buying this stock around 128, 127 area and keep a tight stop loss below 124.
Okay, Dyaneshwar, what's your sense?
Yeah, on daily charts, yes, I agree with Amit, because recently we observed that the head and shoulder formation has been given a breakout, and I also would like to mention the ADX is moving above 25, it's showing a very strong strength in the stock. So current market price as well as dips towards the 132 would be a great buying opportunity. Keep a stop loss of 125 for an initial leg of up move towards the 155 and 60.
Okay, that's the view that's coming in, consistently positive view coming in on tin plate. Let's begin with the second round of charts. This time, NS Vidai has a chart on Tata Global. Tata Global came out with very strong set of numbers. Post the number, there was this big rally. Let's see what the counter has been up to recently. It did manage to rally. This was the result, probably rally, and then it's corrected. Now,
Yeah.
what's the view?
Basically, I've got exactly very similar, identical kind of chart with BML.
Yeah.
If you see this same kind of supports from the support line, the line that is we are connecting the bottoms, and if you look at the tops also, exactly similar kind and similarly placed, and the price is testing this area very. After this fall, if you look at this rally, this was a very strong one single candle, and the fall has been in a very small and controlled kind of fall. It's not a sharp and severe fall. So that shows that the whole pattern is trying to remove the weaker players from the system. And I would say this is a very low risk area to go long here, and one can buy up to 288 on the downside and keep a stop loss below 280. Rather, that would be breaking below this the bottom of this support line, this major candle. So if that breaks, then we'll be getting out of the stock, but we can buy up to 288, and on the top side I see the stock coming back to 330, 325.
Will it be fast move or a slow move?
It has to be a fast move.
Okay, thanks.
And I even expect it to go a bit higher also.
Okay, thanks so much for that. Dyaneshwar, what's your sense on Tata Global?
Yeah, stock is trading in a clear uptrend by making a higher top, higher bottom formation, and recently stock has corrected towards the 290, 291. Earlier we have seen that the 285, 280 would be a very strong resistance, and stock has managed to cross that resistance. So right now that resistance becoming support. So every dips comes towards the 288, 285 would be a great buying opportunity.
Okay, and Amit, what's your sense?
Yeah, I mean, it's in a very strong uptrend, no doubt about it, and it's very normal for a stock to retrace from its previous all-time high. So that is what is happening here. There's no alarms for the ongoing trend. So the current dip and a small dip towards 285 is something I would look to accumulate. The stock, I'll keep a stop below 262, and I'll look for new highs on this one. So a breach of and the test of previous highs around 330 would be very much possible.
Okay, that's the view that's coming in. The next chart is from Dyaneshwar. It's a chart on Hexaware. Let's pull up the counter. Hexaware, I think, came out with a poor set of numbers. Post that there was a correction, but nevertheless, why are you so negative on the counter?
See, if we look at the overall chart structure, stock earlier was moving in a clear uptrend, and after that we have seen the impulsive negative reaction, and after that stock is unfolded into the corrective pattern. And recently we have seen that the intermediate trend line has been broken down, and it's some kind of head and shoulder pattern has been also seen on the charts. And after the breaking, we take a confirmation from the RSI. On the RSI as well as we have seen that the intermediate trend line has been broken down, and it is trading in a below 60 mark, so it is not ready to go above the 60. So that is an indication of the bearishness. And if you look at the charts, so on the charts we have seen the after giving the breakdown, the stock has tested the trend line over here, and right now it is again the weakness sign has been observed on the chart, so it may move towards the southern trajectory. So current market price or till 340-45 would be a great shorting opportunity. Keep a stop loss of 365 for an initial leg of down move towards the 290.
290. So you see a sharp downtick coming in on the
Yes.
counter. Ideally, what's the risk reward? You said better now or better? You believe a bounce would
better
come?
wait for then bounce back towards the 340-45. Oh, that would be a great risk reward ratio.
Okay, thanks so much for that. Enes, what's your sense on Exaware?
Well, one can go short here also and go short on a bit rise up to 344 and keep a tight stop loss about 353. On the downside, I agree with Dyaneshwar, it can do 315 and 295 something.
Okay, and what's your sense, Amit?
Yeah, I mean, stock is doing weak, you know. I mean, it's quite weak, and I mean, though it's around that 320, 323 area where it's a bit of sticky zone. Some support has been coming historically. Once it clears that zone on the downside, a quick move towards 295 is very much possible. So continue to remain negative on Hexaware.
Okay, that's the view that's coming in, and let's take the final stock. That is a chart by Amit. It's on Radico Khaitan. Now, Radico Khaitan came out with numbers which were extremely disappointing. Operationally, it came out with a very weak set of numbers. The counter did manage to correct post the numbers. Let's have the chart. Yeah, what makes you bullish on Radico Khaitan?
Okay. Yeah, so basically, you know, this is the zone where, you know, we have been seeing some, you know, resistance coming in for the stock. Stock has made a nice base for itself here. If we can switch to the daily chart here. Yes, so this is a nice basing formation which has happened, and also the base formation, something similar to tin platers. This basing formation is happening near the previous support zone, strong support zone. So that is something, you know, which is positive about it. This is a conditional buy, of course. Once it breaches, you know, the top of this zone, that is only when you actually go ahead and buy the stock. So right now it is into the phase of consolidation, but indications are that
So by about which level?
by about 340.
By about 340,
Yes.
and then the move will be very sharp.
Correct. So I'm expecting, irrespective of probably the results or whatever, the stock has made a nice base for itself. So once it moves about 340, it would become a momentum buy.
So right now you wouldn't buy on that.
Right now I would not.
Okay,
Yes.
thanks so much for that.
Yeah.
Dyaneshwar, what's your sense on Radico?
Yeah, well, Darshan, if you look at the higher time frame charts, mainly on weekly, so there is no much more of momentum. So absence of momentum in these stocks, because recently we've seen that there is a fight between bulls and bears. So there is no clear trend is indicating on the chart. So I would avoid these stocks.
What's your sense?
Well, I would say I agree with you know, Amit, above 345, 350, the stock has a potential to go up to 385, 395. But the down area is like, you know, means if you wish to buy, you can buy up to 315 and keep a tight stop loss below 308. Else avoid at the moment and buy on momentum only.
Okay, that's the view that's happening on the counter. The last stock that we want to talk about is Yash with his chart on Cipla. Yash, what do you have for us?
So Cipla came out with a good set of numbers, Darshan, and the stock did move up, but over the last several trading sessions, we've seen that the stock has come under a bit of a selling pressure, and it has given a correction. As you could see, this is the daily time frame chart of Cipla, and it is at a very close proximity of the trender indicator, which is a proprietary Bloomberg indicator. Now, as the condition stands, should the stock manage to close below the trender line, which is at the mark of 431, we would see, which is at the mark of 430, 452 for that matter, we would see the trender flip its color from green to red. And historically, every time that has happened, we've seen a series of move on the downside. This may have been a small retracement, because if you take the high from the mark of July 2019 to the low of September, the price which made the top over here, that was exactly close to its 61.8% retracement, and then we've seen this fall coming in. The trigger is yet to take place. Should the closing be below the mark of the trender indicator, we'll see the negative call come in, but currently the stock remains under pressure.
Okay, 450. Thanks so much for that. 450 Cipla. What should one do?
One can go short at this area, but keep a tight stop loss above 459, 460, or one can watch for a momentum sell below 445, 442, and the stock can fall very sharply from there. So, then it could be a 5 to 7% kind of move from there.
Okay, Dyaneshwar.
Yeah, well, 440 would be a great support for the stocks. I would wait bears to cross the 440 mark. Then only I would be short on this counter by keeping a stop loss of 455 for an initial leg of down move towards the 400.
Okay, Amit, what's your
Yeah, I mean 490 is now probably a very tough task for the stock to cross. Overall, pharma and even this one is in a strong downtrend. I mean, I think the trend would continue on the downside, and won't be surprised stock again seeing back levels of about 410 on the downside.
Okay, that's the view that's coming in on Cipla. But with that, it's a wrap on today's edition of Hot Money. Let me thank my guests who've come in today. Amit, Dyaneshwar, NS Vidai, thank you so much for coming in today. Our PQ comes up next. Stay tuned to Bloomberg Quint.